All right, what's up? It's Leonidas here, coming in from Ankara, Turkey. I am currently on top of the Ankara Castle in the center of the city, which is probably the origination of the actual city itself. It's been around in this area since the Hittites, which I'm not sure what year specifically that empire was around, but it was around for quite some time. And over the millennia, it was conquered over and over and over and over and over again. So Ankara is a very, very extremely historic city. There are a lot of historical monuments, a lot of historical things to see. But unfortunately, I have not been able to find a center for the city itself. What you'll hear behind in the background is actually a band playing just below in this castle itself. So in that pit behind, there's a band playing cultural Arabic or Turkish music. So nonetheless, my opinion of Turkey thus far, it is very much a Central to Middle Eastern country. So pretty much Middle Eastern country where you do go through these bazaars and markets where they sell pretty much almost everything on the streets themselves. The culture itself is not conservative. There are women walking around without any hijab, so no one's forcing anyone to be super conservative that I've seen thus far. Perhaps more in the rural areas, but in the urban areas such as Ankara, the city itself, there is not very much conservatism going on that I've noticed thus far, even though Turkey is a Muslim country and the politics have pushed it towards a more conservative culture in the last, 20 years or so. My favorite part thus far has been the castle itself. So the castle itself has been the most fascinating aspect of it because you do get this massive panorama of the city to look at. And I love climbing things. I love going to see the highest points of any city. So this is definitely the pinnacle of the adventure thus far. I've been here now for about 3 days. Tomorrow will be my last day. The other aspect of it is that you can also check out a bunch of museums. So there's a lot of very fascinating museums to check out, very historical museums about anthropology, sociology, and pretty much anything historical that has happened in the last 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years is here in Turkey and in Ankara. One article that I read recently is that a temple from about 12,000 years ago was discovered in southeast Turkey, which is kind of far away from Ankara itself. But nonetheless, you can appreciate the gravity of how many cultures have been here in Turkey itself thus far. There's also a presidential mausoleum, so where the first democratic president of Turkey was put to rest. His name was Ataturk, and he has an entire mausoleum dedicated to him. It looks very Greco-Roman in a sense, more the Greco in the sense that it looks like the Acropolis. And other than that, there's a nice park called Gençlik Park, which translates to Youth Park, which has a couple fountains and a couple amusement park type things. Very, very small, kind of like a carnival. And the food here consists of your typical Turkish delights, which are anything drenched in honey. So they love their honey here. They drench all of their desserts in honey, or you get the doner kebabs, the shawarmas, and pretty much everything comes off from like that big gyro, that big piece of meat that goes in a circle, and then they cut off the pieces and they put it into a piece of bread. So that's pretty much the delicacy here, the main thing that pretty much almost everyone eats. So like I said, unfortunately, there is no actual city center that I was able to find from walking around. There's no main plaza, main central core that you could say the central area that you could go out at nighttime. But for historical purposes, for checking out the city, I would say about 3 to 4 days is fine. You'll be able to see the most of the interesting things and you'll be able to climb up on the castle itself. So definitely recommend Ankara for just a few days to check out the history and the culture, try out some of the foods, and then continue going to the next destination. So my next destination after this, I'm going to either take a plane or a train down to Antalya, which is the resorts area, which is where most of the Russians and the Eastern Europeans go to party during the winter months. And then from there, I'll continue to Cyprus to meet up with a couple friends. And then from Cyprus, either to Israel or to somewhere else in the world. So Leonidas, Antalya, I hope you enjoyed this little video. Salut.